Hello there. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the early access build of the Last Leviathan, which was recently, as of this recording the day before, released onto Steam Early Access. And as I have mentioned before, it takes a lot of influence from Besiege in its mechanics, but we're going to take a look at some of the features that are currently available. The game is obviously still being worked on, so some of the more interesting stuff is probably not going to be in it for quite some time, but I think the basics are in it, so we're going to start off with creative mode and see where that gets us. So to get started, I'm not exactly sure if I have a pre-built ship. I see one over here on the side. There's an image of a ship, but I'm not sure if I actually have control of that one or not. Not sure what that's doing. Making a lot of noise though. Just trying out the keys here. Not sure why it makes that noise. And okay, we can use the right mouse button to actually rotate around our creation. And the arrow keys move it forwards and back and side to side. So there, figured that out. And yeah, basically we start as in Besiege with a little block. I'm looking for the hull. So I'm sort of going for a small. I think I might have made my ship a bit too wide. So I'm going to go ahead and delete some of this. So I'm going to keep the ship relatively small and narrow. I'm basing it largely off of the diagram of the one on the right, the example build. Alright, so that's pretty close to the one they have right there. Here's a sail. That looks about right. Let's try putting that on in an attempt to mimic what they had done. And it also looks like they have some sort of propeller in the back, but I'm not sure what it is. So we're just going to go with a propeller like that. I have to enter a ship's name. The Titanic. Good enough. Ooh, we're almost sinking already. Look at it go. Never going to fare too well in rough waters, I guarantee you. Oh, my ship lacks a rudder. Ah, yes. Okay. Right, we're going to go back. And I need to add a rudder. Here we go. Here are rudders. And that should allow me to actually steer it now. Oh, yeah. That works. I'm going to add a couple of large propellers here to the back. Oh, yeah. We got a lot of power now. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how to channel it. The wonky physics are getting in my way. Hey, I'm on land. Okay. Now, that was unintentional. I was looking at the actual gauges. Hey, look, I blew up. I didn't expect that. Apparently, you can't survive too long on land as a ship. Let's try putting some decking on. Ah, the decking extends out the sides. Not sure why you would need that. So the more items you put onto it, they'll add stuff like power, weight, and health. So apparently, I take that to mean it will take longer for other ships to destroy you. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sent down there. Ha! We're flying. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. I don't know, all sorts of parts flying all over the place now. I'm not even sure they're from me. Oh yes, they are. My propellers just fell off. Look at that. Look at that. The water. It's just brutal on my ship. I'm gonna have to dock again and try this all over. It's helpful, I think, that the developer actually has the official terms for these parts of the ship, because I'm not somebody who knows much about naval technology. I'm gonna remove those. I don't see much benefit to them, and I gotta try to figure out some way to work this propeller in. Let's stick a cannon on the front just for the heck of it. Let's try some smaller propellers. Maybe it won't be quite as crazy. And set sail with that. For some reason we're cutting at a hard right angle here. I'm not steering at all. So I'm not sure if this is current or what exactly is driving the ship to behave in this way. Oh, we're airborne again. Like a flying fish. Or like a dolphin. Look at those leaps. Beautiful. We're better at being a dolphin than an actual ship. And so far, nothing has actually come off, so I'm a bit surprised about that. Yeah, we're definitely up in the air now, and we're going back in for another dive, and we've actually hit the bottom of the sea. So I see some chunks of my ship are floating off and up on top. I don't think this is good for the Titanic. I think we've actually sunk it. Let's redock again, and let's get rid of the sail, perhaps. Maybe we shouldn't be using wind. I'm thinking it might be a little bit too technical for somebody of my beginner level. So we're just going to get rid of that, and I'm going to set sail again. These propellers aren't doing much. Yeah, I'm gonna have to dock it again. Let's try the big propeller. So I got rid of the sail, but now we're gonna put some big propellers back on it instead and see if that makes a difference. Well, yeah, we're definitely moving now. Still seems a little bit iffy though. I mean, I'm not steering it at all and it's already moving somewhat erratically. So it's definitely something I'm not used to, and I haven't figured out how to use the cannon yet. Oh, we just stopped tracking it. Okay, that was pressing F. Apparently you can stop tracking it. Just goes off, hops off into the distance. We've caught back up though. I have to say, the actual challenge that is presented just simply by maneuvering in water is something I didn't quite expect. I mean, I imagine there are things that are likely to be improved here, but the mere physics of it are just, they're simply baffling to me. I mean, I don't have a great understanding of propulsion or anything like that, but simply in the way, the inexplicable way this thing moves, maybe we'll just go again with the sail. And I think I'll get a smaller rudder. Right, so we got the sail back again. Looking for the wind direction, really can't tell where the wind is coming from. Ah, we found the keel. So this might go a long way to explaining what went wrong the other time. Let's try it again. Sunk like a rock. But we're coming back up, we're resurfacing for air, and apparently it's too heavy. So the keel adds a lot of weight. We might not want that after all. So I mean, what are the thoughts on it so far? There's a lot to learn here. Not going to be immediately apparent to you what needs doing, I don't think. I mean, I'm somebody who has a basic understanding of how these games work. I have played Besiege for about 5 hours, building in it. Nothing impressive, I guarantee you, but I have a base understanding of how these things are constructed, and it's taking me a bit longer to understand how everything fits together here. But I feel like I didn't showcase it properly because I'm stuck way out here. You know, I'm stuck in the middle of the ocean. I can't get back to an island. And I think there was some fun stuff to do over there. I haven't rammed the ship yet. Well, this putting the sail on is really slowing the game down. Just for it to render that, apparently. Gonna put a medium rudder on it. Okay, so I rebuilt the ship. It still has a sail on it, but I rebuilt it out of regular boards instead of rotting ones, in the hope that something good would come of it. So I just noticed when it comes to these sails, they will open and close depending upon where you have your throttle. It's like right now at 0 knots, it's closed, it's opening back up. Okay, we're going back to the main menu. Take a look at some of the other options. So battle, seas, cog class 1, let's take a look at that. I've been spotted by a pirate ship. Well, this ought to be fun. I've got a good strong wind behind me. This should be doing it. And no, I don't. Lost that one. So there's something small here that I would like to point out, and that is one of the best ways you can teach somebody a concept that is unfamiliar to them is by demonstrating it. Now, this game does a terrible job of that. They could have at least provided a working ship, because one of the best ways to discover how things are put together is by emulating the existing already yourself. Now, I'm not anybody who is really all that familiar with how physics work, but it would appear that this design is fundamentally flawed in the fact that my sail is causing the ship to always go backwards. And that's not helping the situation any. Now, the interesting thing is the one reference ship that they provided actually was set up this way. So if anything, not only was I not prompted correctly on how to build a working ship, I was actively misled, which I find quite disappointing overall. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, if your idea is to make things as complicated as possible, then I suppose it is. But as an ordinary game usually does, it tries to teach you how it's meant to be played. This game doesn't at all. There are brief hints from time to time. You know, you're going to get occasional text popping up and suggesting things, but there is no formula for building a ship. The idea is you figure it out as you go along. I'm not sure I agree with this design philosophy, because it leads to a lot of wasted time overall for little to no reason. What is the reason you would have your players wasting their time, right? If anything, you want them having fun sailing around instead of trying to figure out how to actually make the ship float. And I can't seem to find it. Here's a sail. We're going to put it on the front of the ship this time. Good enough. I'm not too worried about the pirate ship. It'll never attack me anyway. So now this is an interesting sail in the fact that it doesn't do anything. It is interesting that they do have a wind mechanic. There's a lot to like there. I mean, it's very ambitious, in other words. So, we're going to go back to the menu and see what else is available. So let's look at the versus mode. Now, I've only built this thing, and so I'm going to have to battle against it. And there are a couple of locations here, so let's try this one instead. So this is largely going to be disappointing overall, I think, for anybody, myself and the viewer, because I am completely inept at building a ship, and there is no help. I'm actually going to have to look this up and see the idea here with, I mean, I have no idea why it's spinning in circles like that, but the idea here with first impressions is that you go into it not knowing what to expect, and you don't look up beforehand to figure out how everything works. So I did that, and the game, it doesn't provide anything to help you get started, so I imagine there's going to be a lot of actual sort of spelunking for information. I can understand the developer not wanting to bog you down with tutorials the length of Europa Universalis or Crusader Kings, any of those grand strategy games, but there is so little information to help you even get started. To even teach you the fundamentals of building a ship, there is nothing here. Sure, they tell you how to delete it. They'll mention a keel if your ship is rotating too much from side to side. They'll mention a rudder to help you steer it. They mention something about the wind. It has done nothing to allow me to figure out how to actually build a ship that I can reliably control. Now, maybe this is an intended feature, and maybe I'm being too optimistic because I don't know all that much about ships, but it would strike me as rather worrisome that I still haven't figured out how to make a ship that I can actually control. Let's dock it again, stick a weapon on it, and I want to see the first-person perspective of the weapon now. But okay, here are some actual key mappings. That's helpful. Slightly helpful. Click on weapon. Okay, that's what I was supposed to do for the camera. Right. So I imagine this is how we fire. Yep. Okay. Figured that out. So apparently it's not limited like Besiege was, because I seem to have an unlimited number of cannonballs here. Hopefully I can take this building down. Yeah, there we go. That was better. So yeah, right there you have some cannon action. Cannon on land. Obviously, ship versus ship would get more interesting, but I can't figure out how to actually drive a ship. So that's not going to be something I'm going to be doing this time anyway. I like the fact that I'm actually better at this going backwards, it seems like. It seems like I can drive a decent ship going backwards better than I can going forwards, which is just counterintuitive as all hell. So I would safely say that this game has enough different from it, or from Besiege, to justify a new title of it. It's not like the Clash of Clans copies. You know, there are probably 100 of those now, all ripped off Clash of Clans directly. Different theme was all. This one actually has different mechanics. You know, the physics of the game are going to be vastly different, I think, with the water here and everything. And really how combat takes place, what the objectives are of that combat. And then, of course, there is multiplayer. So there's a lot of promise here. I'm just really disappointed in the lack of overall general information for new players. I think that, if you create the barrier to entry that's too high, it can really destroy the potential for impatient players to actually get a grip on what needs to be done in the game. And I'm one of those impatient players. I will say that. I value my time. And if you, for no obvious reason, make it difficult to learn the the basics of the game, I'd rather spend the 30 minutes reading tutorials and trying to monkey around and figure it out on my own. But here we are, washed up on a bank, and I'm going to call it quits there. That is the Last Leviathan. This is a first impressions look at the early access version of the game. So thank you very much for watching, as always, and I hope to see you next time.